Hi, everyone, and welcome to Boom and Gloom, a Columbus Blue Jackets fan podcast where I talk about the boom, the good, and the gloom, the bad, of our beloved CBJ. I'm your host, Anthony. You may have seen me on social media platforms using the handle Whaler Jacket, and I consider myself Ohio's longest-suffering hockey fan. In case you're new here, I'll explain that super quick. Returning listeners are probably sick of hearing me say this, but I'm 48 years old and I have watched my favorite NHL team, which is currently the Jackets and previously the Whalers, win a grand total of one playoff series in my entire lifetime. I've never even seen my alma mater win a national championship. In fact, Miami University lost the national championship game after being up by 2 goals in the last minute of the game. So I challenge anyone out there, find a longer suffering hockey fan than me. So that's my usual intro I give, and for anyone returning, welcome back. Glad to have you here. I was sad to hear that some other Blue Jackets fan podcasts have been kind of getting some negative press. And I'm not naming names, but one Reddit conversation talked about a fairly popular one, at least I thought it was fairly popular, not actually discussing the Jackets enough during their episodes, during their shows. You know, doing a lot of side stuff that has nothing to do with hockey or the Jackets. Rest assured, on this podcast, that's pretty much all I talk about. If you listen to this podcast, you're going to hear hockey talk 99% of the time. And I have lots of things to talk about today. At the time of this recording, we find the Columbus Blue Jackets sitting 2 points behind the second wild card position. They're behind both the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers. The Canadiens and Rangers both have 77 points. The Jackets have 75. The Jackets are actually in a battle with 4 other teams, with Montreal, the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Red Wings, who all have about the same amount of points. After losing 6 in a row, the Jackets eked out 2 wins against the Islanders and the Canucks. Both were shootout victories. Then they fell to the Senators 3-2. One could look at this as a positive. You know, we won 2 games in a row after a losing streak, and then we dropped a hard-fought 1-goal decision to the team that's just ahead of us in the standings. We have won 2 out of the last 3 games. So some may see that as positive. But I am a pessimist, ladies and gentlemen, and I look at it a different way. I see it as this. The Jackets have not won a game in regulation in their last 9 games. I definitely wouldn't say they have turned things around. Those 2 wins were shootout wins. And sure, you could argue that they were hard-fought victories. But again, I see it as a team in a playoff race desperate for wins. And a team that has been unable to put away a team in regulation since March 9th. And that was their only regulation win since the Stadium Series game. I mean, that's pretty incredible to think about it. If you go back to the Stadium Series victory, they have won exactly 1 game since then in regulation. And let's not forget, those shootout wins weren't exactly impressive either. Against the Islanders, they got a little bit of luck as the Isles scored with 8 seconds left in the game, but it was waved off due to a questionable goaltender interference call. More on that later. And against Vancouver, They let the Canucks jump out to a 3-0 lead in the first period, at home, in the thick of a playoff race. And as I record this, I don't know if it's coming through the microphone, it is 8:45 p.m., and the wind and rain is starting to pick up. I heard we had a tornado watch, so you might hear some rain, thunder, wind in the background. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So they allowed the Canucks to jump out to that huge first period lead. And yeah, sure, they battled back admirably to tie it. And again in the third period, when they were down by 2, they battled back. I get that. But my thinking is that they should not have been in that position in the first place. They have allowed the opposing team to score first in 9 straight games. At least I think it's 9 straight. So they are constantly needing to come from behind instead of starting out strong and putting together a full 60-minute effort. That just doesn't sound like a team fighting for a playoff spot, a team desperate to get as many points as possible. And then here's my biggest complaint. Everyone is healthy. You can't blame injuries anymore. Everyone is back. Boone is back. Chinnikov is back. Monahan is back. Goodbranson is back. Remember when everyone was saying, just wait until we get our injured guys back. And, we don't need to make any trade deadline moves because getting our guys back from injury, that's like adding players to our lineup at the deadline. I remember all that. And we got everyone back. And we are still not playing well enough. And I get it. Some players, they're gonna take a while to get up to speed. I get that. But it doesn't change the fact that the team is desperate for wins and should be playing better. So what has happened? I thought putting Boone back in our lineup was going to be this huge boost for the team. I thought getting Monahan back and reuniting that top line, supposedly the best top line, statistically speaking, in the NHL. I thought that was going to reap huge rewards for this team down the stretch and for their playoff push. And I thought Chinnikov's return was going to spark the offense because of his shot, his speed, and how well he did in the first 15 games of the season. Well, he's been a healthy scratch the last 2 games. And I thought Goodbranson's return would add some much-needed leadership and toughness, a physical presence on the defense, experience. None of all this has worked the way most of us fans hoped it would. The Jackets they've just lost their mojo, and they've done it at the worst possible time. Just imagine where we'd be right now if they had won just half of those 6 games of their losing streak. They would be 4 points ahead of the Canadiens right now. And I believe they'd be 2 points behind Ottawa for that first wild card position. Oh, it could have been if they could have just won half of those games and did better than losing 4 straight at home. Oh, what could have been. And instead, now the team is trying to grind it out and not looking very successful, if I'm being totally honest here. Now, I love their never quit attitude. I really do. It is quite admirable and makes for some good hockey. But you know what? I'm tired, all right? I am tired of comebacks. I'm tired of having to try and come back to win every game. They need to find a way to set the tone early. Come out like they have in a lot of the second and third periods recently. Make the other teams work. to come back for once. It just doesn't seem possible that this could be happening for a team that's played so well all year and a team that knows they are this close to the playoffs. Well, my feeling, though, is that I hate to say it, the Jackets will not make the playoffs this season. I hope I'm wrong, and I will be happy to eat crow on that. But they just haven't shown me they have what it takes. A large part of this is goaltending. I have watched too many routine saves go into their goal. I mean, last night in Ottawa, I firmly believe that Tarasov should have saved the first 2 goals. The third was not on him, but the first 2 were. Those 2 goals, of course, completely changed the dynamic of the game. I unfortunately didn't see the game against the Canucks. It was one of the few games I have missed this season, but from what I gathered, Elvis was not playing his best game. I mean, can any goaltender allowing 6 goals in a game really claim to be playing their best? I'll talk more about the goaltending situation in a bit, but I have one more complaint about the Jackets' recent play. Everyone knows I am Dean Evason's biggest fan. He was my favorite player for the Whalers growing up. He has installed a great system here with the Jackets. He's changed the culture in a positive way. And overall, I think he's made mostly great decisions. But I have to criticize him here. Last night, the Jackets played the second game of a back-to-back. James Van Riemsdyk and Yegor Chenikov sat the previous night as healthy scratches. You have Luke Kunin, who has done virtually nothing since his arrival from San Jose. You have Zach Aston Reese, who I really like, but has been quiet lately. And you have Corrali, who honestly hasn't done much of note lately. So why the heck do you not pull out Kunin and insert JVR? You have fresh players waiting to play on the second night of a back-to-back. Which, by the way, the Jackets have won what? The second night of a back-to-back. How many times have they won? Once this whole season? Put in JVR. He can score. He has grit. He has size. He has experience. He has leadership qualities. He has been through all this. Put in JVR. Take out Kunin, who just played last night and once again did nothing noticeable, at least in my eyes. Give Yegor a shot. We need scoring. He's been a healthy scratch and is probably just itching to get back in the lineup. You need offense. And he's fresh. Put him in. Pull out Czar or Corrali. But no. Evason opted to keep the exact same forward lines from the previous night, and it didn't work out. I'm sure you can tell, but I am very frustrated with Luke Kunin. I don't disagree with Evason's decisions very often, and I can say the same about Don Waddell. Well, I disagree with him here. Bringing him in was a mistake. He's not bringing anything noticeable to the table. He is average. He is just average. And all he is currently doing is keeping some extra scoring, leadership, and experience out of the lineup. Oh, rain's really coming down now. So those are my rantings and ravings about the current Jackets situation. I'm not an optimist. Not optimistic whatsoever regarding their playoff chances. They'll they'll have to seriously kick it into a higher gear if they want a chance. 10 games remaining, and looking at their schedule, I'm not liking their chances, okay? Ottawa twice, Washington twice, Toronto, Colorado. I mean, that's six games out of 10 right there. Not to mention an Islanders rematch in the last game of the season. My hopes are high. My confidence is not. Okay, I said I would touch again on that goaltender interference call against the Islanders. I watched that goal go in, and my heart sank immediately. Only a second later to see the ref emphatically waving it off. I was relieved, and considering the way he waved it off when it went to review, my confidence was very high. Then I watched the replay. Like many other Jackets fans out there, I thought it was going to be overturned. It was a good goal. The interference was certainly debatable, but I thought for sure Elvis was not prevented from making a save. Then it was announced that the no-goal call was going to stand. I, again, like many other fans, was shocked. It felt like we got away with one. It looked like the war room in Toronto actually took our side for once. And that's the position I kept on it. A few days later, I had a hockey game of my own, just an adult league hockey, beer league, and we're all discussing it in the locker room. The goaltender on my team adamantly agreed with the ref's call and Toronto's decision to not overturn it. He explained that most people watching were paying attention to the lower body of the Islanders player. He said that if you watch the upper part of his body, it broke the plane, and that's how he described it. It broke the plane, preventing Elvis from getting into proper position. And like I said, he was adamant. So take that for what it's worth. I just wanted to share that, that opinion with you, because I form my own opinion as a viewer and as someone who has never played the goaltender position before in his life. This was coming from someone with quite a bit of experience at that position. So I just thought it was an interesting take to share. Moving on here. All right. I talked about the current state of the Jackets. I want to do what I like to do often on this podcast, and that is talk about the future. I've been doing a lot of thinking and of quite a bit of listening to other Jackets podcasts. And it seems to be a prevailing thought that Don Waddell is going to put his stamp on the team this summer. Last summer, he had just come aboard, didn't make any major moves. This summer, he's going to make it his team. And some of the moves that he is going to make, we may not like or we may not understand. Waddell has demonstrated at his previous stops in Carolina and Atlanta that he is not afraid to make a big move. He is not afraid of trading away a young player with high potential. So that got me thinking, what is he going to do this summer? I've discussed this before in other episodes. I understand it's a common theme. But as the season has gone on, we get more data. So thoughts and opinions can change. So here is my current thinking about what is going to happen. One thing I'll say right away, I would not be surprised to see someone traded who we didn't expect to be traded. A young guy who we thought was part of our future. Cole Sillinger immediately comes to mind. I love Cole. But is he developing into anything more than a third line center? If Waddell can get an upgrade, then yeah, I would understand that. Trading Sillinger, but no one is untouchable. But anyone who I might consider untouchable, they could be had if the offer was insanely good. Regardless, Sillinger I could see as a possibility to be moved, because you can't get something good for nothing. And I think Sillinger has a lot of value. I talked about this last episode, but Boone Jenner. I love Boone. He's been great for the community. Been a steady point producer for the Jackets. He's great with faceoffs. But again, the team needs to upgrade, and sometimes hard decisions have to be made. I can see Boone being traded. Sean Corrali. He's a UFA after this season. He's a Columbus guy, well-liked, has experience. But I don't see him coming back next season. Again, we're looking to make upgrades here. Luke Kunin. Well, you know how I feel about him. Hopefully, Waddell will agree with me that he's not had much of an impact on this team and he will not be given an extension because he is a UFA. Then you have Kevin LeBanc. He was a good idea to pick up at the start of the season when the injury bug hit. Now he's injured. When he was not injured, he was a healthy scratch more often than not. So I don't see him back with the team next season. Justin Danforth. Now he's on an expiring contract, and originally I thought he might be one of the ones to move on. But now I'm not quite so sure. I think he's been a great fit on that so-called identity line. So, especially if they are parting ways with Corrali and Sillinger, keeping him as a low-cost center might be worth it. James Van Riemsdyk. I've already talked about him and what I think he brings to the team. It's possible they move on from him. But I could also see Waddell wanting to keep him around. Again, for his experience. Can't always have the youngest team in the league if we want to start winning playoff games. Then you have Yegor Chinnikov. Again, I like him. But he has had a ton of injury issues. So I could definitely see Waddell wanting to move on from him. Zach Aston Reese was signed to a 1-year extension. So I would guess he's coming back, but you never know. He could be thrown in as a sweetener to a trade, and I say sweetener in quotes because I know he hasn't really done a whole lot of noticeable stuff lately. If I did not mention a forward, that means I predict they're not going anywhere. Fantilli, Johnson, Marchenko, Monahan, Voronkov, Olivier. I think those 6 are locks for next season. Everyone else, not a lock. Prediction time. Of the forwards I did mention, who do I think remains with the Jackets next season? I think they keep Danforth. I think they move either Sillinger or Jenner. Possible they move both, but I think it's more likely they only move one. I think they definitely move on from LeBanc. I think they let Kunin walk. I think they let Corrali walk. I also predict Waddell will trade Chinnikov. As for JVR, though, I'm just not sure about that one. I'm not sure what they do. I am sure that he'd be fairly cheap, and I'm not sure you will find what he brings to the team on a less expensive contract. So I think he might be valuable for Waddell to keep. So he and Zach Aston Reese are my question marks. To recap, keeping Danforth, moving either Sillinger or Jenner. Probably not both, but it would not surprise me if he did. Moving on from LeBanc, Cunnin, and Corrali, trading Chinnikov. And of course, all those predictions can change. With 10 games left in the season, anything can happen to change course. As for the defense, I've hit this topic so many times this season because things just keep changing. But now that we have everyone healthy, it makes it a little clearer. I think Waddell is going to try to trade Eric Goodbranson. I don't have a lot of data to back that up. I just have a feeling. Okay, so no real support there, just a feeling. He wants to make some upgrades. Goodbranson's spot would be a start. I also think after all is said and done, Provorov is not brought back. I understand they like him. I understand he is tough and has played relatively well. But again, you're looking for upgrades, looking to kind of rehaul the defense or overhaul the defense. So I think he ends up not re-signing, and we fans will all yell, I told you we should have traded him and got assets at the deadline. We'll all say that. But that's what I think is going to happen. I also think Waddell tries and predictably fails to trade Damon Severson. That guy still just drives me nuts. I mean, look back at the Ottawa game last night. That second goal, and maybe it was the third, I can't remember, but it was on him. He gets the puck at the blue line in the offensive zone, and he passes it to literally no one. No one. Just empty space. Ottawa player picks it up, comes down the ice the other way, scores. But his contract, just an albatross. We need a miracle to get that thing moved. Ooh, I don't know if you heard that thunder. That was a loud one. All right, now here's an interesting thought. I think Don Waddell might let Dante Fabro walk. Yeah, he has played very well. Yes, he has worked very well with Werenski. But if you want to overhaul the defense, you're going to have to replace more than just one guy. So I'll say this. If Waddell decides to keep Provorov, Fabro is gone. If Provorov is allowed to leave, he'll probably sign Fabro to an inexpensive contract. Next year, our defense has Werenski, Matejchuk, Severson, Christensen, and then either Fabro and two new guys to round out the top seven, Provorov and two new guys to round out the top seven, or three new guys if Waddell decides to go a little bit crazy. As for goaltenders, my bold prediction, I've said it before, both Elvis and Tarasov are gone. Unless they can convince Tarasov to sign a two-way contract, which I doubt will happen. Waddell will find a taker somehow for Elvis. And by the way, I thought it was a little telling, even if it was done in jest, that when that kid reporter that they had for that kids takeover night, that kid reporter asked Coach Evison who the best listener on the team was. Now, Dean kind of just said, oh, everybody's a good listener. But he said the worst listener was Elvis. And I found that quite interesting. Now, Evison said it with a smile, but I believe there's some truth behind it. I predict next year we will have a new starter with Jet Greaves as the backup. Okay, a lot of predictions, and the season isn't even over yet. At the end of this season, I will revisit this and perhaps make some changes to my predictions, but as of now, there you have it. A couple of other things before I wrap things up. First of all, I want to just state again how impressive Matthew Olivier's season has been. He's up to, I think, 17 goals now. There's a chance he will get 20. I mean, nobody could have seen that coming. He's been a leader on and off the ice. And, as an added bonus, of course, he's widely considered to be one of, if not the toughest fighter in the league. And he's like, third in the league in hits or something like that? I've just been so impressed with him. He works his butt off every single night, and he just plays with passion, plays with heart. I doubt he has the same goal-scoring success again in future seasons. I could be wrong, but I don't think it'll happen again. But for this year, I just have to applaud the work that he has put in. What a story on him. Adam Fantilli. All right. He is now an NHL 20-goal scorer in only his second season. And with last year's lengthy injury, he hasn't even played 2 seasons yet. So that's awesome. Very excited for his future with the team. A listener on Bob McGilligan's Monday Mailbag podcast, he mentioned the possibility of signing Fantilli to an extension right away, like this summer, like 7 or 8 years this summer. Just, saying to him, you are the future of this franchise. We want you here long term, and we're going to pay you now. I have to say, if that happens, I'm okay with it. Yes, there is some inherent risk to signing someone still developing long term after only about a year and a half. But is there anyone out there who thinks Adam Fantilli has anywhere else to go but up? You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody. Let's see, other news. Very sad to hear about the Columbus-based clothing business who had to close. I think they may have filed bankruptcy. I'm not sure. They seem to be forced to shut down. They lost control of their facility, their websites, their assets, all that stuff. I guess what happened was they couldn't handle the production of the Johnny Gaudreau tribute shirts, which were ordered very early in the season. And if I read correctly, they were doing it, like they accepted the task in order to donate all profits to the Gaudreau family. It was such a worthy cause. But I guess they couldn't keep up with all the orders, and they tried to outsource to a different company. That caused additional problems, and unfortunately, they had to shut down. I don't know all the specifics, but I wanted to say thank you for their efforts. It was truly for a worthy cause, and I'm sorry that they had to close their doors, go out of business completely because of it. Jackets fans are so passionate. I mean, I'm sure the blitz of orders that they received, the onslaught was completely unexpected. I'm just sorry that they had to lose their business because of it when they were simply trying to do a good thing. All right, last thing I want to talk about. Is there a team that has more icing calls against them than the Columbus Blue Jackets? Sometimes it is just quite frustrating to me. This season, I have really started to pay more attention to the systems that the teams play. Like, I've really tried to really notice what they do, and I've never really done that before. I learned that from watching that the Jackets have this strategy. They have their defensemen start the breakout. One forward gets to the red line. Then the defenseman fires the puck up the ice. The plan is to have that forward at the red line touch it, negating the icing, but letting the puck go by and get deep into the offensive zone, allowing for a hard forecheck to follow. So it's not really a pass. It's more like a dump in from the opposite end that's redirected at the red line to avoid icing. The problem with this plan is that oftentimes the pass or the dump out, whatever you want to call it, doesn't connect with the forward at the red line, and it results in an icing. I get it. High risk, high reward. I would just like to see more reward. It just seems to me like there's just too many icings, which brings, of course, the puck back to their own defensive end. I've also noticed that they resort to, in the defensive zone, flipping the puck out, like lofting it out high, out of their defensive end. If they like really need a change, like a line change, they'll just loft it out. Sometimes that results in icing if it's misplaced, but oftentimes it goes right back to the opponent's possession, and they just bring it right back in the zone. It got me thinking, why don't they curl back or look back and pass it to a defenseman instead of just flipping it out and giving it right back to the other team in neutral ice? Hold on to it for just like a second more, split second more. Pass it back to your defense. And if they are still in trouble at that point, then yeah, flip it out of the zone and relieve the pressure. Now, if I'm right that this is not what Evason really wants to happen, then I attribute this to the youth of our players. I saw Kent Johnson do it yesterday versus Ottawa, and I rolled my eyes. And I love Kent Johnson. But he could have avoided the Senators getting possession back if he just curled back or looked back and then just passed it back to the defenseman, then got off the ice. I know. Easier said than done. I get it. I'm not an NHL player, but just something I've observed. Oh, one more thing before I go. Sorry, I just remembered. One more thing. I just got my Blue Jackets Stadium Series jersey today. I ordered a medium, like I normally do, and it is huge. So I'm not sure if Fanatics has messed around with jersey sizing, or if it was mismarked, or maybe I'm just shrinking. I don't know, but I've always ordered medium jerseys. I mean, I don't understand why it's so big. Who knows? But I was so excited to receive it, and now I have to return it to Dick's Sporting Goods and get a smaller size. I'm just annoyed. I love that jersey and was so pumped to finally have it in my possession. It has been quite a journey for that jersey. Because I fell in love with it the day it was revealed. The day they announced the Stadium Series jerseys, I loved it, and I wanted it. The problem is, the authentics go for what, like $450 or more? And the replicas, or the lower quality, or I don't know what you want to call it, the replica quality jersey, they call it the premium. That's still very expensive. And I was like, it's like $200. And the problem is, I don't have $200 to spend on a replica hockey jersey. I have a graduation party to plan for in a couple months. I have anniversary parties and trips to pay for this summer. College in the fall for my daughter. We're just an average middle-class family. I can't be spending that kind of money on a hockey jersey right now. And I remember back in the day, I could get a $50 or $60 replica of any NHL jersey, any I wanted, by going to hockeygiant.com, which I don't think exists anymore, or 1-800-HOCKEY1, which was the South Windsor Arena in Connecticut. Now, these jerseys didn't have fight straps, but other than that, they looked legit. And they had, the name brands, CCM, Coho. I mean, they were legit branded jerseys. And I didn't even care about the fight straps. I just wanted a jersey to look legit. Those days are apparently long gone. So I decided I would take a chance and order a $36 knockoff from one of those non-reputable sites. The problem is, these sites do a decent job if there are no non-traditional colors involved. If you want a Red Wings jersey, just red and white, a Rangers jersey, just red, white, and blue, or a Bruins jersey, just black and yellow, I'm sure it will look authentic enough. But if you want a jersey that features grays or silvers or a unique shade of blue, these sites will consistently get it wrong. I received a Blue Jackets third jersey as a gift, Christmas time. Now, a non-Jackets fan probably wouldn't notice, but I noticed that the non-traditional blue that they use for the striping, it's incorrect. It's not the correct blue. It's fairly close, but it's off enough to bug me. But I really wanted this Stadium Series jersey, so I took a chance. I was actually hoping to have it for the Stadium Series game. It arrived a week or two later than that, unfortunately. And I, of course, was very disappointed. Like I said, they don't get the grays and silvers correct. Like if you order a jersey with silver, it'll probably come back gray. And that's what happened. Instead of the shimmery silver on the striping of the authentic Blue Jackets Stadium Series jersey, it was just gray. It was just gray, and it was not good enough for me. I'm a jersey nerd, okay, and this bothered me. So every day since, I've been watching the Dick's Sporting Goods website, hoping it would go on clearance, and it never did. I'd check it every single day. Then, just last week, my loving wife says to me, "Why don't you just order it? It'll be your Father's Day present." She's a keeper, ladies and gentlemen. She is definitely a keeper. So I ordered it. It doesn't have the numbers, it doesn't have the name, it doesn't have the patches, but I would at least have the jersey that I love so much. Not quite yet, obviously. I gotta wait for the smaller one now. Make sure that fits, and then return the other one to the store. Then my quest for a Stadium Series jersey will be complete. And that's it. That's all I got. I've rambled on enough here. Let's see how these next 10 games go. I am not optimistic, but approximately 38 years of being disappointed as a hockey fan, that'll do that to you. I'm due. Okay, we are due for some good fortune. Let's hope the Blue Jackets will deliver. As always, if you'd like to connect with me, talk some Jackets hockey, ask me a question, give me a suggestion, for a topic to talk about in a future episode, let me know. Find me on Blue Sky or Instagram at WhalerJacket, or simply send me an email at whalerjacket@gmail.com. I would be very happy to hear from you. I'm not sure if I will do another episode before the end of the season. I guess that depends on what happens in the next 10 games. If there's stuff worthy of discussion, then maybe I will. If not, then the next Boom and Gloom episode, the next episode you hear from me will either be a season wrap-up episode or a playoff preview episode. Fingers crossed that it is the latter. Time for me to get going. Until next time on Boom and Gloom, take care, everyone, and go Jackets.